Hey YouTube, today we are going to talk about witchcraft myths. I feel like this is a video I've been wanting to do seriously because there is so much misconceptions and just lies out there about exactly what's going on. First of all, disclaimer, I don't necessarily consider myself a witch. Um but I do talk about spirituality, crystals, manifestation, and a lot of people might consider that witchcraft, which is the reason I'm using that term. Um, but I'm personally don't like labels. If I had to go with one, it would be ominous. And I'll insert what that means on the screen. Sorry, I just busted an eyelid, so yeah, just ignore that. Um, but yeah, there are a lot of misconceptions about everything in general, and I'm gonna kind of tell you what's true and what's not in case you're interested. Number one, witchcraft is not a religion. It is basically a set of different practices. So a lot of people practice multiple things. For instance, you can be a Christian witch, believe it or not. That is kind of where hoodoo comes from, or what it is described as. There are Catholic witches. And many different traditions are different types of witches, but it is not its own religion. So you have different types. You've got pagans, you've got Christians, you've got more of the African spirituality and voodoo. Witchcraft is kind of like an umbrella term to describe all of that in one. Number two, witches are out there sacrificing ghosts and praying to the devil. That is the number one most common misconception. Witches, or people that practice witchcraft, do not worship the devil. Now, Satanism can fall under the label of witchcraft, which is where I think this gets mixed in. So, Satanism is its own religion, and these people worship Satan. Witchcraft is a whole separate thing, but because they have similar practices, like maybe having an altar, lighting candles, working with crystals, it's all been put under the same exact level, but it's not the same thing. So you can do witchcraft without worshiping the devil. Number three myth, you have to be born into witchcraft. So yes and no. Okay. There are a ton of closed practices. And what that means is that you have to be of a certain bloodline to practice certain spells or crafts or ceremony, whatever. The reason why this is a lot of times is because there is history. And if you're directly calling on ancestors or two spirits that might not get along with each other or might not get along with your ancestors, it just doesn't work. For instance, non-black people doing hoodoo. Hoodoo, you are directly calling in spirits from slavery. Do I have to explain that? I feel like it's common sense on why that might not be good if you're not African American. So I won't get into that. First of all, you're not even gonna have these ancestors. It's just not gonna work for you. Number two, like I said, if you've got spirits that don't get along and you're just doing stuff and there's their closed practice and you're trying to tap into something that you shouldn't be tapping into, these spirits are not going to be happy with you. They're going to be angry and they're going to respond. So there are a bunch of closed practices out there. Normally, depending on who's teaching you, they're going to tell you. Now, hoodoo is a bit more complicated because you don't directly have, not everyone directly has an elder, unfortunately, because of the way it was ripped away from our history. Not everybody has an elder they can ask. Not everybody has a practitioner. So, oh, I did not, that was the dog snoring. I'm like, what is that noise? Okay, period, I guess. Um, not everyone is going to have an elder to directly speak to, but that is mostly lineage. Are you African American? Yes. Voodoo. Do you have ancestors that are from places where it's popularly practiced, or if you look at the history of voodoo, you can see where it came from. Do you have any ancestors of this lineage? If yes, you most likely can practice it. I'm not sure about actual under like pagan umbrella type. I don't know what exactly falls under that for them, but I'm sure they have close practices too that only certain cultures can practice. You just need to know your lineage, kind of, which can be hard for some people to find. So my advice is, if it is something that you cannot find, don't do it because it can backfire and just end horribly. But for the most part, there's always going to be some type of spell or working that you can find without actually touching into a close practice. There are a lot of information, a lot of books out there where you don't have to dedicate yourself to a specific practice and get into some type of craziness. So, I don't even know how to word this myth, but let's say TV. Witches are not green. They don't have big long noses. They don't have a pot of green gunk that they stir around to tell you your future. Most don't even have a crystal ball to tell you your future. Witchcraft is such a big term and there's so much things under it. You have your psychics, you have your tarot readers, you have just normal spells. And the way it's perceived in TV is not how it is at all. That is the biggest misconception ever, is that you will light a candle and homeboy over here is going to turn into a frog. It's not realistic. There are limits. And it's not something that happens. You turn on a scary movie and you see a group of people sacrificing their friend to get $1 million. These are not normal, common practices. Things like blood magic that you see on TV are very hard workings to do, and beginner level witches, even advanced people, sometimes cannot do it. It's not something that you just pick up one day. It takes years of practice, and most people are not just gonna sacrifice somebody to do a working, nor are there a lot of workings where you would need to sacrifice somebody. It makes no sense. Now, with that being said, once again, like I said, it's not like the movies. It's not Harry Potter. You're not going to wave your wand and something's going to happen. Most of the craft is going to follow the same rules of kind of like manifestation. So, witchcraft is manifestation. Everything is manifestation, but I don't know if I have enough time to explain that. But you're essentially training your brain. You're reprogramming your brain the same way you are, essentially, if you've ever read anything about Neville Goddard and his believings. If not, is training your mind. You're reprogramming your brain to believe something, and when you believe it, it comes true. That being said, there are workings that can happen overnight, but for your average beginner witch, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in seconds, and there are laws, rules, limitations. I cannot just be like, you know what, I hate my ex, let me turn him into a frog. That is not going to happen, unfortunately. But TV has taught you that this is a thing and that it's common, and it's just not. No one is in their room trying to turn you into a frog. Witchcraft also is not only evil. Most of your more common spells are financial spells, love spells, spells to help you gain friends, spells to help your family out, spells to simply honor the loved ones that you have lost. It's not all evil, crazy, criminal, whatever they've shown you on Nickelodeon or Disney Channel. Okay? It's just not. My God, let's talk voodoo dolls. This is one of my favorite ones. You got another thing on TV. They'll show you voodoo dolls and be like, oh, if you poke it here or pin it here, or in TV, they'll throw the voodoo doll and somebody will shoot across the room. Not realistic. Now, do voodoo dolls actually exist, and are they a part of... I'm putting voodoo and witchcraft under the same umbrella, even though they're technically two different practices, just because I feel like that's the easiest way to describe it, or that people outside might know. But if you practice voodoo, you obviously know it's different. But voodoo dolls are not just oh, I'm gonna poke this in the arm and your arm's gonna hurt. A lot of them are used for different things, including healing. Yes, to heal people, not to hurt people. They can represent healing, luck, spirits. Sometimes even if you're just doing a practice and you mentally need to really link yourself to this person, that can happen. You can bind a doll, so creating a bond with the person, essentially a very strong bond. But when you poke a voodoo doll, nothing is going to happen normally. When it comes to hexing and stuff like that, I don't even really think dolls are used as much, at least nowadays. Most of the time, that is a jar spell or a candle spell. Dolls are just simply not used from what I know. Now, this is from, an Americanized view, because depending on where you go, they're going to have different stuff and they do different things. In a different city or state or country, it could be more common to use. But here nowadays, you don't really need a doll, and dolls are used for a multitude of different stuff. It's not just trying to cast evil onto someone. That's unrealistic, and that's another TV idea. Last but not least, we're going to talk about animal sacrifices. Yeah. So animal sacrifices are a thing. That is very rare, very real, but not in the way you think. Most of these animals have to be killed a very specific way, usually not killed. Very humane ways. Not like I'm gonna go out, get a cow, and slaughter it and do a spell. It's deeply respected thing. You have to buy it from a certain place. It has to die a certain way. Spirits are very specific about what they want or what they need, and most of them are not going to want some animal that you slaughtered in your backyard or did something weird, like hung. I don't even know. It's just not a thing. It's not something that you would do. It's deeply respected, and it's for more powerful workings. It's not going to be your average everyday practitioner or person that practices is probably not going to do an animal sacrifice. I've never done an animal sacrifice. I know probably one person, and even then, it's not even the whole animal. It's something you can buy at Walmart, like the chicken's foot, or there are places where you can buy pig's heart. These animals have already passed away, are already in the store, are going to be sold either way, unfortunately. But it's not like how it is shown in movies where you see somebody taking a goat's head and putting it on their altar. I'm not saying nobody ever did that, but it's just not common. It's not realistic. It's not something that the average person is doing. It's been misconstrued, and you have been lied to, and you fell for it. I can't blame you, because if you see it on TV enough, you start to believe it. But that is not happening. People are not drawing on the floor a what's it called? Pentagram with the goat blood and laying upside down and lighting six, I don't know, whatever candles. I love American Horror Story, but it's not American Horror Story. This is real life, and stuff like this is just not happening. And it's not happening the way that you think it's happening.